Hi, I'm Simon with AppliancePartsPros.com. Today we're going to show you how to repair your appliance. Are you ready? Remember, anytime you work on your appliance, make sure it's unplugged or the circuit breakers are off so there is no chance of electrocution. Also, make sure you turn off the water supply to the washer. In this video, we'll show you how to replace the vane in a Frigidaire washer. It's going to be a very easy repair. Should only take a few minutes to show you how to do it. For the job, we are going to need a number 2 square bead screwdriver, a Phillips and a flatblade screwdrivers, a Torque 20 screwdriver, a pair of pliers, side cutters, a pair of large pliers, a socket wrench with a 3/8 head and long extension, a 7/16 inch socket head, a smaller socket wrench with a 5/16 inch head, a 6 mm Allen wrench with an extension tool, a 12 mm open-ended wrench, and 3/8 mm open-ended wrench, a zip tie, some lubricant, and a heat gun. When you open up the package, you're going to get a new vane. There are 3 vanes installed inside the inner tub. They are used for turning and flapping clothing. The main reason for the vane to be replaced is if it breaks off. We need to take the top off. Using the number 2 square bead screwdriver, unscrew the 2 screws at the back of the top panel, pull the panel back slightly, and lift it off the washer. Pull the dispenser drawer out, press the tab down, and remove the drawer completely. Using the number 2 square bead screwdriver, take out 2 screws on the sides of the dispenser and the 3rd screw on the left side. With the same screwdriver, take out the 2 screws that hold the control panel on the top, one in each corner. Leave the panel off. Disconnect the wire plug at the control panel and take it away. Disconnect the large white wire plug on the top right. Open the door. Using the flat blade screwdriver, pry the outer boot clamp starting at the bottom where the spring is. Remove the door boot seal off the lip and tuck it inside. Close the door. Tilt the washer back and place the support under the front. Using the number 2 square bead screwdriver, take 4 bottom mounting screws out. Remove the wooden block and put the washer down. Another 3 number 2 square bead screws removed at the top of the front panel, and then you can lift the panel off and away. Push out and remove the tub light. Using the side cutters, cut the zip tie and pull the inlet hose out of the boot seal. Next, we're going to need to remove 6 nuts here and the bolts to release the counterweight. We're going to use 7/16 inch socket wrench. Take out the bolts. At first the nut, then we'll have a washer and a mounting bracket. So that's a nut, the washer, and a bracket. Next, we're gonna remove the bolt itself. I'm gonna put some spacer so we have a little more space to work here. And now we're gonna remove those two on the right side. Then comes the bolt. And the top one. And the bolt. Now I'm going to take out this spacer, put it on the opposite side. Now we're going to take out the spacer. Next we're going to take out the counterweight. It's one piece. It's a bit heavy. Careful. And we can take it away. Using the 12mm socket wrench, I'm gonna slide it onto the taper end and push down the locking tab on the hinge pin. If you saw it, it moved back, so I can push a little more. And if we're lucky, I can pull it with my bare hands. Yes, normally it takes pliers to pull it out. And push down the shock absorber and put it out of the way. We're going to repeat the same procedure on the opposite side. All right, 12mm range. Putting it on the tapered end of the hinge pin. Pushing down the locking tab. And then using the pliers, we're going to pull the pin out. Then I'm going to push down on the shock absorber and take it out of the way. Press the tab and unplug the power cord connector. Remove the green ground wire. Using the pliers, squeeze the tab and push it in to disconnect the power cord from the bracket. Next, using the number 2 square bit screwdriver, remove 5 screws, 2 on the top and 3 at the back, and take the rear mounting bracket off the cabinet. Using the same screwdriver, take out the single screw on the right and remove the drain hose retainer and put it aside. Using the same number 2 square bit screwdriver, take the screws that hold the control board out. Next, we need to remove the rear panel. There's a bunch of screws. We're going to use a torque 20 screwdriver and remove them all. Be patient. And we're done with the screws. Now we can remove the panel and swing it to the side, out of the way. Pull on the belt and turn the drive pulley until the belt comes off. Then remove it. Reach in and using the 5/16 inch socket wrench, unscrew 2 rear motor mount bolts. Unscrew the 2 5/16 inch front motor bolts. Push the motor back to release it and pull the motor out. Press down the locking tabs and disconnect the motor wire plug. Using the pliers, squeeze the tab and remove the wire harness retainer from the motor. turn the motor and using the flatblade screwdriver, remove the green ground wire. Now you can remove the drive motor. Reach behind the motor control board and using the number 2 bit screwdriver, loosen up the mounting screw at the bottom of the control board. Pull out the control board. And next we're going to take off the cover. I'm going to use flatblade screwdriver, pry it off, opening up, and removing. Now we're going to use pliers and disconnect the green ground wire here. Then I'm going to push down the tab and disconnect one plug. And now we're going to take out the large plug. Probably going to use some help from the flatblade screwdriver. Prying it off. Make it nice. Alright. So there's one more plug here on the side. Press the tab and pull the plug out. Next we need to remove these two retainers. Now we're going to use the pliers, needle nose pliers. It's one more. And pull this out. That's the beauty of the design. Alright, both of them out. Next we're going to take out the red, green, and yellow wires from the heater. I'm going to help it with a flatblade screwdriver. And then we're going to lift the tab up and pull the plug out. Remember, yellow was on the left, red was on the right, and green was at the bottom. Next, we need to remove a couple of wire retainer clips. Using pliers, squeeze that tabs on the sides and pull it out. Same thing on this one. Okay, both are removed. Now we're going to remove the rear shock absorbers from the top sockets. We're going to place 12mm wrench over the tapered end of the hinge pin. Push it on. So we are pushing down the locking tab. And with the large pliers, we're going to grab it from inside there. And pull it out. Then we're going to push down on the shock absorber, disengage it from the socket, and push it out of the way. Next, we're going to do the same thing on the opposite side. Okay, using the 12mm wrench, we're going to push it on the tapered end of the hinge pin. So we're going to press down the locking tab, and then we're going to pull the pin out with the large pliers. Easy enough. Next would be disengaging the shock absorber from the socket. Push it down and out of the way. Let's put a towel underneath of the hose because it still has some water. this edge is very sharp, extremely. So I recommend you, I highly recommend you to protect yourself by putting a thick towel or some kind of a rag over it. Only then we can reach in. Now, using the Phillips screwdriver, we're going to loosen up the clamp here on the top of the top two pump hose. All right. And now I'm going to move the hose clamp from the air chamber. I'm going to use the pliers. I'm going to squeeze that clamp and put it down. Out of the way. So now we can remove the hose from the tub and from the chamber. Just put it down. So next we need to disconnect the air hose from the air chamber. We're going to squeeze that clamp with the pliers, move it up. You probably can do it with your fingers, but why to do the fingers if you can use the tools? All right, I got it off. We can keep the clamp on, it's not going to go anywhere. So we can remove the blue towel now, and then we can take off this protection towel. Let's take a picture of the order of the plugs before we remove it. Now we're going to use a flatblade screwdriver to lift up those little tabs and disconnect the plugs from the solenoids. Next, we're going to remove two screws that holds the dispenser. I'm going to use a number 2 square bit screwdriver. So we're going to use a Phillips screwdriver and loosen up that clamp on the vent hose. So we can take the hose off the tub. And now we can remove the hose of the tub. Now we can remove the dispenser assembly, pressing the tub down and just pulling it straight out. What we're going to do next is not 100% necessary, but I recommend you to remove the drain pump from the washer in case if the tub will come on down hard on the pump and damage it or break one of the mounts on the tub. So we're going to use 5/16 inch socket wrench, unscrew the mounting screw, and now we can pull out the pump from the bottom mounts. There's if you see, there's two tabs. Right now we're gonna disconnect the wire plug, push down on the tab here on the side, and pull the plug out. I'd like to put a towel under the pump because that could be some water left in the drain hose and in this hose. Then I'm gonna use the pliers. I'm going to move the clamp off the hose here and then disconnect the hose from the pump. Alright, now we can take the pump off and the towel too. I would suggest you remove this panel away because it could be on the way of taking the tub out. So we're going to pull the hose out and take the panel out. Now we're going to remove these two number 2 square bit screws. We're going to take off the spring stopper. And we need to put the screws back as soon as possible, so the brace would still hold all the weight. Now I'm going to repeat it on the other side. And removing the stopper and put the screws back. Okay, now we're ready for removal of the suspension springs and taking the tub out of the washer cabinet. For this purpose, we'll definitely need a second person. We're going to lift up the tub and remove one spring. Slowly, I'm going to put this thing down, and then I'm going to take the second spring out. And remove the springs out. And put it aside. Carefully remove the tub assembly out of the cabinet. Place it on the 2 supports. Ready? Yep. And now we're going to take out there's a few bolts that hold the 2 halves together. Just be patient. It's a 3/8 socket wrench with a long extension, so we can get on the top of the tub. We're going to leave this one for later. We'll have to use the wrench for this. And for a couple of bolts that left in, we are going to use a wrench. If you are interested what size wrench, it's 3/8 of an inch. And why we can't use a long socket wrench? Because of this mount. All right, and another one. Okay, now we're going to separate the tub. And lift the top off. Now we're going to remove that from the support. We're going to turn it over. And now we need to remove the pulley. Now we need to take the drive pulley off. For that we need to unscrew that bolt in the center. Unfortunately, bolt is not obeying, so we're going to use a heat gun to break it loose. We're going to heat it for a few minutes. Take your time, because you're not going to do anything if you'll just heat it for like 10-20 seconds. I put it to the maximum. It's 1100 degrees, and I probably should spend maybe 2-3 minutes heating it up. On some models, you're probably going to get a regular bolt. In that case, you will use a socket wrench to unscrew it. It's going to be easier. All right, I'm going to use a 6mm Allen wrench to unscrew that bolt, and we need some kind of an extension for the longer lever. I'm using that universal bit driver holder. Okay. All right. Remember, it's still hot, so don't pick it up without the gloves. And next, we're gonna pull the drive pulley off. So now we're gonna lift off the tub. It's kind of heavy, so brace yourself. and just put it aside. Now we're going to put the basket on its side. To prevent the inner basket to roll all over the place, we're going to put a wooden block underneath of it, so it will stop it from rolling. We need to open those two locking tabs on the side so we can slide the vane out over the tub. Using the flatblade screwdriver, we're gonna just slowly pop it open on one side and then on the opposite side. So the next step is to bend open those two more tabs. Okay, so that looks like all four of them are open, and the vane can be slide out. Reach inside the basket and slide the vane forward to release the tabs. This is the old vane next to the new one. If you don't have this part, you can get it from appliancepartspros.com. To install the new vane into the basket, we need to slide these 6 tabs into the 6 cutouts, and then slide it in, so this opening would be right under that 4 tabs. Let's start with matching the tabs. We're going to push it in and then slide it inwards to lock. And then magic flatblade screwdriver, and we're going to push in the tabs. Couple more. All right, it's all secured. Now we're going to take out the block and flip the basket shaft up. Next, we're going to put the tub back on the inner basket. Before, I would suggest you to clean everything here as much as you can, especially if you have any rust at all on the shaft here around the bearing seat. You have to be gentle and spray it with a soap and clean it with a rag. Do not scratch it. In our case, it's in very good shape. Brace yourself, lift it up, and put it down. Now we're going to put the drive pulley back on the basket shaft. We're going to match this cutout with the shape of the shaft. And secure it with the bolt. And I'm going to use this same 6mm Allen wrench to tighten it. And use the extension lever. All right. Place the tub back on the supports. And let's place the top half and examine the edge. Clean it if it's needed. All right, so this is a top. So we're going to match this with the cut on opposite side. So lift it up. And let's install it. Match the holes and push it down. So now we're going to secure the two halves together with all of those bolts, and I'm going to start with putting 4 bolts across each other and tighten them. Then we're going to put the rest of the bolts. So we're going to use a 3/8 socket wrench. Don't tie them up real hard, just a little bit. And now we can tighten them. Let's place all the bolts in the holes there. Except those two. We're gonna deal with that later. And next we're gonna tighten them all up. I'm gonna use the same 3/8 socket wrench. And now we're going to put those 2 bolts, 2 special bolts, and we're going to use this 3/8 wrench to tighten them. And we're going to put this one in. Now we're going to lift it off the support and put it into the cabinet. Put it inside the cabinet slowly. Don't hurt yourself. Okay, next we're going to hang it on the suspension springs. First we're going to put the springs into the tub so that will go in this way. These upper hooks should face outside the cabinet. So we'll start from this side. Hook up the spring and the second spring. I'm going to lift up the tub and hook the spring on one side, and then we're going to do it on the other side. Thank you, Matt.
No problem, Simon.
Next, using the number 2 square bit screwdriver, remove the screws that holds the brace to the cabinet on one side. Install the spring stopper and secure it with the 2 screws. Repeat the procedure on the opposite side. And now we can bring the panel in and put the drain hose through the hole so it won't be on the way. And now we can connect the pump to the drain hose, slide it on, and then we're gonna secure it with a clamp. Using pliers, I'm gonna squeeze the clamp and slide it down to secure the connection. Now we can put the pump and the hose back. But first we're going to connect the plug. It goes right in there. Next we're going to put this rear tab in and the front tab in and push it down. And secure it with this beautiful 5/16" screw. Now we're facing a little of the task here. We need to put the dispenser back in. You need to press hard on the tub so the dispenser will fit in. And slowly work it out inside. Right, that tab has to go underneath to lock in. A little tricky. All right. Now we got it in properly. Now we can install the hose on the tub. Now we can tighten the clamp using the Phillips screwdriver to secure the hose to the tub. And we can secure the dispenser to that brace with a couple of screws using a number 2 square bit screwdriver. We're now going to connect the plugs to the solenoids. If you don't remember the order, you can check with the picture we took earlier. All right. Place the protective towel over the edge of the base. Now we can install the air hose onto the air chamber. We'll slide down the hose all the way. And then we're going to secure it with the clamp. So I'm going to use the pliers, squeeze the clamp, and slide it down. Alright, now we're going to install the tub to pump hose back on the tub. Put it on there. It's a little tricky. This little cut on the top, you see that? That slot should fit over that little tap here. Now I'm going to put it on. And simultaneously, we need to install that hose onto the air chamber. All right, now I'm gonna using the Phillips screwdriver and tighten that clamp. If you see, I'll kind of hold that with my left hand, yeah, so that clamp would not slide out. Okay, now you can let it go. It's holding. All right. Then the pliers. Squeeze the clamp and slide it up to secure the air chamber hose. All right. All right. And then we can take off this protection towel. All right, now we're going to install this shock absorber into the upper socket. Pull it up, put it into the socket, match the holes. Slowly let go. Remember, this is our first shock absorber that is in place. And next we're going to put some lubricant on the hinge pin. Maybe yes, maybe no. Oh, yep, okay, we got some out of it. Spread it around and push it in. All right, it's done. So we're going to install the shock absorber into the top socket. I'm going to pull it up. Match the holes. Squeeze some lubricant on it. Insert it into the opening. You hear the clicking sound? That means the tab locked. So now we can move to the other side. Now we're gonna clip on the wire harness. Just insert that retainer and push it in so it will lock. And then the second one goes from outside in. Same thing, push it in. And now we can install the wires on the water heater. If you remember, we had the yellow, then we have this beautiful sensor plug, then we have the green ground wire, and this is red with a black stripe. Okay, that's it. Alright, put some lubricant on the hinge pin. Pull up the shock absorber. Put it into the socket. Match the holes. And going from the rear, insert the hinge pin. Same thing on the opposite side. I'm going to put some lubricant. Install the shock absorber into the socket. And again, match the holes. And put the pin from the back. Let's install the motor control board. Again, we start with pushing in those wire retainers. And now we're going to connect the plugs. There goes this one on the side. Okay. And the large one on the top. And now we're going to put the small plug. Okay. And then the ground wire. And now we're going to put the cover on. And we can install the control board onto that screw on the bottom. Slide it under. And we're going to tighten that screw using the number 2 square bit screwdriver. Bring the motor in. Connect the green ground wire. Alright, now we're going to turn the motor over and connect the plug. And next we're going to lock that wire harness tab. Okay, ready for installation. This 4 motor mounts goes over the 4 brackets on the top. So we need to slowly lift the motor up, match them, and slide it forward. And install all 4 screws. Tighten them using the 5/16 inch socket wrench. And put some lubricant on the hinge pin. Pull up the shock absorber. Put it into the socket. Match the holes. And going from the rear, insert the hinge pin. Same thing on the opposite side. I'm going to put some lubricant. Install the shock absorber into the socket. And again, match the holes. And put the pin from the back. And next we're going to put the belt on. First it goes on the motor pulley. Hold the belt with both hands. Put one side belt on the drive pulley. Hold it tight with both hands because it may snap. And God forbid, pinch your finger. And then turn the pulley. Hold the belt, turn the pulley, and it's on. Rotate the pulley several times, both directions. Make sure it's installed properly. Now we're going to place the rear panel back, swing it back, pull on the drain hose a little bit. Okay, and align the holes on the top here. So now we can secure it with the screws. All right. And now we can install the rest of the screws. Alright, now we're going to attach the motor control board. Alright, so we're going to put two number 2 square bit screws in to secure the motor control board to the rear panel. Install the drain hose retainer and secure it to the rear panel with a number 2 square bit screwdriver. Now we can put the rear mounting bracket back and secure it with the screws using the same number 2 square bit screwdriver. Push in the plastic retainer with the power cord. Clip the ground wire onto the rear bracket. Connect the power cord plug. Alright, here comes the counterweight. I'm going to put it back on. It is heavy, if you remember. This bottom tab is supposed to be supporting the counterweight. So we need to raise it above it and slide it in. Okay, we're going to put the spacer first in. And prepare everything. So we have a bolt, we have a mounting bracket, and a washer, and a nut. Bolt goes first, obviously. And the mounting bracket, then the washer. And we're installing the nut. And now the 7/16 socket wrench. We're going to tighten that nut. And we can go to the second one. The bolt goes first. Then the bracket and the washer and the nut. Now we're going to switch the sides. I'm going to put spacer on the opposite side. And secure the counterweight on the left. Now we can remove the spacer. And we can go to the bottom bolt. And now we're going to put in the inlet hose into the port on the boot seal. Push it in. all the way. Okay. And now we're going to secure it with a plastic tie. Using the side cutters, we're going to cut off the extra. Now we're going to put the light in. For better, easier result, you can probably put a little bit of soap in there. Liquid soap. Okay. Put the hose into the retainer. Bring the front panel and install it on the side posts. And secure it at the top with the 3 number 2 square bit screws. Lift the front of the washer onto the support. Secure the bottom of the front panel with the 4 number 2 square bit screws and then remove the wooden block. Open the door. Pull out the door boot seal. And then we're going to install it on the outer lip. To install the front clamp, put it into the groove with the spring at 6 o'clock. Then grab the loop with the pliers, pull on the spring, stretch it, and install the clamp into the groove. Make a visual check, make sure it's inside, and also that the boot is all the way on, and you can pull on it. All right, now we can close the door. Connect the white wire plug at the top right. Bring the control panel, connect the plug, and install the panel. The top edge goes first, then we're going to push in the bottom edge. All right, now we're going to put screws in. Secure the control panel with the 2 number 2 square bit screws, 1 on each corner, on the top of the panel. The dispenser screws are different from the rest of the screws. The one which goes in the corner is the common screw. Install the 2 number 2 square bit dispenser screws on the side of the dispenser. Slide the dispenser drawer in, press the locking tab, and push it in all the way. Then install the top panel. Place it on less than ½ inch from the front panel and slide it forward to lock. Secure it with a couple of number 2 square bit screws. Turn on the water, plug the washer in and run it to check if it works properly and there's no leaks. Thank you for being a part of another successful repair brought to you by AppliancePartsPros.com. For any of your future appliance repair projects, please check out our other repair videos available on our site, on Facebook, and on YouTube.